Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Hey, I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am also fantastic. Not to brag or anything, but I think I'm doing really well.
That's great.
Is that a good thing?
That is a good thing.
Coming up late on the program, I'm excited to talk with Bob Tiede. He's the author of a book called Leading with Questions, and his entire book is about leaders asking good questions. So I'm going to start working right now.
There you go.
Good questions.
Yeah, it might be an awkward interview.
Got any good questions for me to use on your interview? No, I'm excited. Actually, super nice guy. I'm excited to chat with him.
No pressure there.
Yeah, no kidding. Recent survey shows U.S. bond markets are still a mystery to most Americans. They're trying to figure out, okay, I understand stocks, but what are bonds? So
I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I've never really learned. I've
all
heard
I know
people
is-
talking about them. Rich people with
All I know is-
money and stuff.
Bond, James Bond. But I think that's something different. Studies found that fish in Washington's Spokane River have an extremely high concentration of toxic flame retardants. I'm just imagining trying to cook a fish that's got, flame retardant. This one's very rare. For some reason, I just can't get it.
What?
There's fish. Washington's Spokane River. For some reason, there's the fish are somehow flame retardant. I don't know.
That's amazing.
We're going to move on. Thanks for listening. Special stuff coming up.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Oh, you'd never ask. It's Wednesday, December the 7th, a date that will live in infamy. Yes, today is National Pearl Harbor Day.
Oh.
Also, Remembrance Day. It is International Civil Aviation Day. It is National Cotton Candy Day.
I love cotton candy.
You know what? Cotton
I really
candy.
do.
And I'm gonna throw a little pitch out there. For those of you who watch Shark Tank, you might have seen this. There was a kid. What the heck was the kid's name?
I don't know what his name was, but the stuff was pretty gross.
You didn't like it?
I did not
Oh
like
my
it.
goodness, I loved it. There was a kid on Shark Tank that had some maple syrup cotton candy. Today is Special Kids Day as well. I want to make sure I mention that because otherwise we're going to forget. But he had this maple syrup cotton candy. Well, I was,
Now back to
cotton
this
candy story for National Cotton Candy Day. Anyway, he had maple syrup cotton candy, and it was good stuff, man.
It really wasn't. It wasn't as good as cotton candy.
Parker was the kid's name. Anyway, I went on the website and bought some after the show, and so did millions of other people because it was busy, and you could tell they sold a lot of it. But it was good stuff. On the show, Mark Cuban convinced him to raise the price, too. So it cost us all more than it would have before he went on Shark Tank. So doggone it. Little capitalist. He did not get a deal, but he has some delicious cotton candy. On this National Cotton Candy...
Oh, he didn't get a deal?
No.
I thought he got a deal.
Nope.
Oh.
But it is National Cotton Candy Day.
John and Heidi.
This is my favorite time of year. The lights, the fun parties, and the family get-togethers. Many of us have boxes of home videos capturing these memories. But sadly, these memories are fading away because the videotape was not the best format. My friend CJ has a business called Tape It Up Reproductions. They transfer your precious memories to a digital format with the option to enhance the audio and the video to make them look and sound better than ever. His website is tapingitup.com, or you can call or text 412-766-1679.
John and Heidi.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. A Protestant minister has been suspended from his church. Guess why?
Why?
He said he doesn't believe in Christmas or in Christ.
Well, yeah, that's kind of important. Isn't that kind of a job requirement?
As a minister, that would tend to probably be, a pretty important thing. Here's something from the What Were You Thinking files. An Irish Protestant minister who does not believe in Christmas and does not believe that Jesus was the Son of God has been suspended from his duties as a minister for 3 months to, quote, reflect on your statements, end quote. Imagine the reaction and the faces of Andrew Furlong's congregation when his unconventional viewpoints surfaced not in the church itself, but in some articles published on his website for the entire world to see. He said, and I quote, I don't believe the traditional understanding of Christmas, he says, that God took human form and was born as the babe in Bethlehem.
Why would he become a minister?
Furlong was ordained as in the Anglican Church of Ireland, says that he's held his unorthodox beliefs for more than 30 years, but has not shared them previously with his parishioners. And I don't know. I don't know why he would have chosen that, but here's the thing. I don't understand. If you're doing that for a living, you would think that would kind of be an important thing to believe.
One would think so.
I believe that, and I'm not doing that for a living. But, he, for whatever reason, and
That's
again,
interesting.
I think it's going to be, well, they gave him 3 months off to think about his statements, to reflect on his statements, but do you really need 3 whole months to reflect on that? You either believe that or you don't.
You either believe or you don't, and that's kind of part of the job.
Okay,
so.
I want to keep my job, so now I believe.
Yeah.
I just don't think that would work for me. I don't know. That's just kind of crazy. Anyway, might want to pray for that guy. What was his name again? Pastor, where did it go? Andrew Furlong. There we go. And he's in Ireland, so.
Well, there you go.
They must do things differently there. And it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. What do convicted drunk drivers in Ireland and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer have in common? The answer?
I don't know.
People convicted of driving under the influence in Ireland will soon have their noses painted red. Yeah.
As punishment, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, for the duration of their probation or sentence. Lawmakers say the red noses will send a message that drinking and driving is not tolerated. Plus, they say they feel good. A good dose of public humiliation will do the drunk drivers a world of good.
Ha!
So there they go. It's like the Scarlet Letter, but instead it's the
I
Scarlet
suppose. That's
Nose.
interesting.
I wonder
It
how
might
that's
work.
going to go. I just don't know. That's a second story, by the way, from today that is from Ireland, and both of them are bizarre stories. What are you folks doing in Ireland? The good news is, when we get back, we're going to talk about some bizarre things happening on this side of the pond, and it has to do with deer, but it's not Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's the attack deer that are being seen on the highway. We'll tell you what that's all about in a bit.
John and Heidi.
Our moment of duh takes us to New York. Have you ever hit a car with your deer? I'm sorry.
Hit a deer with my car?
That's the one. I've done that before with your car. It happens very often and a lot in New York, and they're trying to prevent this from happening more than, just putting up a deer sign that says deer and the, deer, what do they call it? Deer crossing?
Yeah.
The New York State Thruway Authority put up an 8-foot sign near Rochester, New York that says, "Be alert, attack deer next 10 miles.
Attack deer?
Yeah. They're just... I don't know exactly.
Are they trying to be silly?
I don't know. They're fielding calls from residents who are very upset that they use the word attack deer. They've been reminding the authorities how gentle Bambi was. The whole concept was they were trying to make sure that people realize that deer can be very dangerous when they jump out on the road. Anyway, so now they're going to have to spend a bunch of money to change the signs because people are upset that they're calling them attack deer. Because when they had...
first of all, that's just ridiculous.
Well, but when they had just deer next 10 miles, people weren't slowing down and weren't being cautious. So they thought if we say attack deer...
Yeah, because everybody, when they think of a deer, they think, watch out for those attack deer.
They're just saying, hey, watch out for the ninja deer that are in the next 10 miles because they could jump out and, karate chop your car. So there you go. That's your moment of duh from New York.
The scoop of the day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your scoop of the day. If you want to do your best work, take a long nap in the afternoon.
I like that plan.
I like that too. Nighttime sleep has been known to improve memory and concentration, helping us to solidify and organize lessons learned during the day. Researchers now from the University of California at Berkeley think a lengthy afternoon nap could have a similar effect. A long afternoon siesta has a way to reboot your brain, much like rebooting a computer, and you'll get more work done, and it'll be more smooth in the afternoon.
I like that plan. Let's implement that immediately.
There you go. Hey, if the only thing that gets you out of bed in the morning is a hot cup of coffee, you might want to blame your parents for your caffeine dependency. It appears that coffee addiction is rooted in our genes. How much caffeine you crave, it may be more, it may be less, but it can be found in two specific genes labeled the CYP1A2 and the AHR gene. Those are the ones I was thinking.
Yeah,
it
I
would
was
be,
thinking that
pretty
that's
much.
probably what it was.
I was
Common
thinking
sense
it.
kind of
Yeah,
just tells you that.
everybody knows that. Study co-authored by Dr. Neil Capasso explained people don't really suspect it, but genetics plays a big role in a lot of behavior, such as smoking and alcohol consumption. And it turns out that has a part of how much caffeine we drink as well. So there you go. Hey, a recent car crash on an Arkansas highway ejected an 8-month-old girl, but the story has a miraculous ending. The infant was found unharmed in a storm drain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Texarkana Fire Marshal Stephen Johnson says the firefighters could see the baby looking up from down between the drain bars. They reached down and pulled her out, and she was unscathed.
Oh my gosh,
crazy
that
is
is a miracle.
Yeah, thank you, Lord. My goodness, that could have ended badly. Hey, thieves, take note. Your days of stealing baby Jesus from the town nativity scene, they're coming to an end. Nativity scene makers say that more and more characters are having requests for GPS being built in, and most of them are the Jesuses, the Marys, the Josephs, and the 3 wise men. Well, doesn't that kind of cover most
That's
of them?
pretty much the manger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody's really stealing the donkey, I guess.
Walking away, leaving the sheep. I don't know. Camel? I don't know. Anyway, GPS-equipped manger scenes.
That makes sense to me. I think that's a very...
Here's the thing I
why
don't
has that not
understand.
been done all along?
Well, because it didn't exist before. But here's the thing that really stinks, that you have to put GPS in a baby Jesus because somebody's going to steal it. That's just crazy. Researchers in Austria say that women sleep better when they sleep alone because men make too much noise and thrash around.
You, the other night, by the way, holy cow.
Was I snoring?
Oh my gosh. It was terrible.
Was that the night we got home really late?
Yes.
Yeah, I was
and
so
I had
tired.
to take a sleeping pill because I couldn't even fall asleep with you making all that noise.
We're married, by the way, just so you guys know. I don't want people going, what in the world are they talking about? Yeah, I was so tired that night. I woke up and my arm was like, I'd fallen asleep on my arm and it was tingling. I thought I had a stroke in the middle of the night, like dragging my arm around behind me. Researchers, oh, hey, we just talked about that. Let's go to this one instead, since we already talked about that one. According to a study from the London School of Economics, working people are at their lowest not on Mondays. Do you have a case of the Mondays? Well, if you really have a case of the Mondays, it's on Tuesday. That's the day. One professor explains it this way. It seems plausible that on Mondays, the weekend is not quite worn off. By Tuesday, they're well into the work week, and the following weekend is not yet in sight. Yeah, either that or we're just looking for any excuse to, be frustrated with things. That's why we have Tuesdays with Charlie on this program, because that's the little pep in your step that you need on a Tuesday. I mean, it's just important.
That's right. See? Making
And
the world a better place.
Our final
Every
story here.
Tuesday.
If your desk is messy and your boss looks bewildered, just say this. Hey, boss, people with untidy workspaces think outside the box. You'd be telling the truth, by the way. Neat desks are linked with many positive behaviors like generosity, but a messy desk promotes creative thinking and new ideas. So I've got all kinds of ideas because my desk is a disaster all the time. And I think there's some sort of link to that, don't you think?
My desk is always tidy and clean. Always.
You're tidy Heidi, I know. It's not always, because I go over and work over there once in a while, and I mess it up
And
for
you mess it up, and then I have to pick it up when I come home.
I know. I do what I can.
Yeah, it's
Coming up, we got
crazy.
a great guest, and the author of a book called Leading with Questions, Bob Tiede. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
Radio advertising works. When it's done right, it works even better. There are many things you can do to get a better response, and shouting sale really isn't the best thing, believe it or not. Did you know that when you put words to music, they're 9 times more memorable? If you're trying to get people to remember your company, consider a jingle. We work with one of the very best jingle companies in the business, and we'd love to use music to help you grow your company. Learn more and hear examples at RadioReallyWorks.com. That's RadioReallyWorks.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We've got a special guest joining us right now, Bob Tiede. He's actually from the same state that I'm from. He's from South Dakota. He grew up in a little town called Parkston, graduated from USD in 1971. Bob has been on the staff of Cru, formerly known as Campus Crusade for Christ, for about 45 years, serves on the global and U.S. leadership development teams for Cru, developing the next generation of leaders. 4.5 years ago, he launched a blog, LeadingWithQuestions.com, and today he's got leaders that follow him from over 170 nations. Bob has a free book that I've actually had a chance to read. It's a really nice ebook, Great Leadership Ask Questions, a Fortune 100 list. It's also available as a free audiobook, and you can hear Bob as he does the narration on that. And right now you can hear Bob as we say hello. Bob, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, John. A pleasure to be with you.
Well, it's nice to catch up. I kind of feel like I know you because we're friends on LinkedIn, and I've read your book, and I've listened to your audio CD, so I kind of feel like I know you. So you're a bit at a disadvantage because I'm still kind of a stranger to you, but it's good to have you on the program.
John, you're a South Dakotan, so I know you.
There you
I'm
go.
a South Dakota boy.
We got that going, don't we? So in the introduction of your book, you share that you are a charter member of TA. So what is TA?
Well, I am a charter member of TA, and I find most people are not familiar with it. So I asked them, John, if they might have heard of AA.
I've heard of that.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, everybody's heard of AA. Well, TA is Tellers Anonymous.
Oh.
John, your friend Bob has an addiction, and that addiction is I'm addicted to telling. As a leader, I'm a teller. And at our TA meetings, I stand up and introduce myself and say, my name is Bob. I'm a teller.
Nice.
Well, today, John, I'm a recovering teller. However, I share the temptation to lead by telling has never left me. But I've discovered a much better way to lead, and that is to lead by asking. Rather than telling your staff what to do, asking them what they think might be the wise thing to do in any situation.
I think that makes a ton of sense, and it works a whole lot better as well. Now, in your book, you share that you can teach people to lead with questions in just 30 seconds. That's a pretty short amount of time. How can you do that?
Well, John, are you willing to be a guinea pig on this test?
I'll gladly do that.
John, I just asked people to memorize my 4 favorite questions. Here they are.
Okay.
The first one is, what do you think?
All right.
Second one is, what else? The third one is, what else? The fourth one is, what else?
I'm still taking notes
John,
here.
have you memorized those?
What do you think? What else? What else? What else?
Yes. Now, that seems a little funny, but in a conversation, people love to be asked, what do you think? In fact, I ask employees and, leaders, everyone all the time, how does it make you feel when your boss asks you, what do you think about some situation facing the company?
Yeah.
And the answer is, wow, it always makes me feel good, respected. And so that's the first question. But the reason for asking, 3 more times, and of course you do this in the right tone of voice. You don't say, what else?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like you get to the gold nugget the 3rd or 4th time you ask, because we kind of instinctively, John, when we give our first answer, it's kind of a safe answer. We kind of roll it out and see how it would be treated.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you asked me what I thought about something and I shared the answer and you said, well, Bob, everyone knows that. Well, I'm glad I didn't say anything else.
Exactly.
But when you say, wow, that's good, keep talking, what else? You get to the best content they have, their best ideas, the 3rd or 4th time you've asked. So, as I say, in 30 seconds, any leader can start down the path of leading with questions by simply starting with, what do you think? And then as they answer, say, keep talking. What else?
That is awesome. Now, I have a thing here that says there's a consultant that makes a handsome 6-figure income with just 4 questions. Are those the 4 questions right there?
They're not. They're another 4.
Oh.
But John, I won't ask you to memorize these, but they're almost so simple they can be memorized.
Okay, what are those?
And it's really interesting. This guy says he does make this handsome 6-figure income. He is not a subject matter expert, so he can, consult with companies doing many different things. And his first question is, what's going well? His second one is, what's not? The third is, where are you stuck? And the fourth is, what needs to change? And he shares that it's so important. Many times as leaders, we don't want to take time to talk about what's going well. We want to immediately jump into what we think is the problem. And he shares that if he was meeting, John, with you and your wife to consult about your radio business, he would spend the whole morning on what's going well.
Yeah.
And he would dig down. Wow, how'd you come up with that, John? Where'd you come up with that idea? How do you get that done? Where'd you learn that? And he would do a lot of wow, wow, wow. But he said that sets the atmosphere. By the time he gets the second question, what's not, you or whoever he's consulting with has the feeling that this guy thinks I'm one of the smartest people he's ever consulted with.
Yeah.
And so when he asks what's not going well, you actually feel comfortable saying, well, there are a couple things. And he gets down into it. Now, I was being interviewed by Tom Ziegler, Zig Ziglar's son. Tom now runs Ziegler. And he stopped me after I asked these 4 questions, John, and he said, Bob, do you understand the wisdom of why asking what's going well first is so good? And I said, maybe I'm unaware. Tell me. And he said, well, I'm kind of a brain nerd. But he said, when you start with the positive, the brain starts firing all these positive endorphins. And he said, that is such a much better place to solve problems from, because you have an optimism when you start with what's going well, that yes, we can solve what's not. And I thought, wow, that was a brilliant addition that I was unaware of.
That's awesome. And those Zieglers, they're pretty smart folks, aren't they?
Well, they're fun folks, for sure.
Now, when you very first meet somebody for the first time and you're trying to connect with, whether it's for a business, maybe like a social mixer, or if it's, you're meeting somebody on a social setting for the first time, what is one of the first or best questions that you should lead with when you're first meeting somebody?
Well, John, here's mine. And that is, I simply ask, John, tell me your story.
Oh, nice.
And I used to, John, maybe ask about, tell me about your family, or tell me about your work. And those aren't bad questions, but what I discovered is there's a certain percentage of people that are in the midst of a family kind of crisis. And so it's awkward for them to answer that. Or second, if you ask about, their work, if they were just laid off, that's also awkward. But I find when I just say, John, tell me your story, that allows whoever I'm visiting with to actually answer however they want. And it is always interesting.
Yeah.
As people begin to tell you their story, they tell you stuff you would never even ask, but is really interesting, and it's just a great question.
It is. That's a great idea. And I like the way when you're talking about tell me your story, I think that people tend to tell their favorite parts of their life rather than what you were talking about before. So what do you do? What do you do for a living? So you say, tell me your story. They can tell you. Maybe they don't care about talking about what they do for a living, but they have this amazing hobby that they absolutely love. So that's a great way to start a conversation.
Exactly, John. Exactly.
Now, in your book, you talk about 3 questions that a Navy captain used to turn around the morale of one of the United States' most modern warships. What was the question list that he had? Those 3 questions.
Oh, this is also just really fascinating because of its simplicity. And John, I'm going to give you the questions, but remember, I'm a farm boy from South Dakota. I like it when the fruit hangs on the low branches. This captain was so wise, but he took over a ship, the USS Benfold. When he took it over, the morale on that ship was the lowest in the U.S. Navy.
Oh, wow.
18 months later, it was the highest.
That's cool.
The first thing he did when he took over is he had 15-minute conversations with each of his 300 sailors. And here's what he asked. What do you like best about this ship? What do you like least? What would you change if you could? And he listened. Now, he didn't promise that he would change everything, but it didn't take long before he picked up themes of things like, wow, we can change that.
Exactly.
Just imagine the buzz on that ship when he was doing, these 300 interviews, which took several days, perhaps several weeks, of them saying, wow, we have a captain who actually cares what we think.
Yeah.
He actually listens.
That's awesome.
And yet the questions, John, any one of us could ask those questions of any situation.
Again, our guest today, Bob Tiede, he's got a book, Leading with Questions, and his website, leadingwithquestions.com. He's also got a blog. A lot of folks that are following him on there. Now, before we go, there's 4 questions that a turnaround specialist uses when he works with companies that are failing. Will you share those 4 with us as well, Bob?
Oh, well, this is, again, really fun. When she gets hired to help a company that's, going down to turn around, she goes in and talks and listens to employees, stockholders, customers, whoever she can, for as long as it takes until she has the answers to these 4 questions. The 4 questions are: who needs to be let go? What position needs to be filled? What product or service needs to be discontinued? And what new product or service needs to be launched? And she says it's really that simple. And there's always somebody everyone knows needs to be shown the door. And another position that needs to be filled. And then they've got a product or service no one's buying anymore. And everyone knows it needs to go. And they also know there's a new product or service we need to launch. And as soon as she reports that to the board of directors and they move on it, employee morale moves from hopeless to hopeful.
That's awesome. And again, our guest today has been Bob Tiede. Bob, you've got this awesome audio book, and there's also an actual book that people can get. The website, leadingwithquestions.com. If I go there, can I find the items right there?
Yes, absolutely. Both the ebook and the audiobook, John, are available to listeners absolutely free by simply going to leadingwithquestions.com. And there, if you look around, depending on what device you're using, you will find the picture of the book and the audiobook, Great Leaders Ask Questions, a Fortune 100 list. And you'll be able to request a free download of either the ebook or audiobook or both. My compliments.
Well, thank you for doing that. That's really nice of you. And I had the opportunity for both of those to read and to also listen. And if you like the sound of Bob's voice, which I do, I think you got a fantastic voice, Bob, you're going to love that CD because it's him. You're the one that did it. Was it fun recording the audio CD for the book?
John, it really was. Now, I'm not a radio personality like you, but it was fun doing it. And what I was amazed is how well the producer made me sound. He cut out all the ahs and pauses and mispronunciations. It was fun.
Well, it's the magic that we have today at our fingertips when we sit behind a computer. It's just crazy. Well, Bob, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today.
John, my great pleasure. You have a great rest of the day there.
You do the same. Again, Bob Tiede, and the website, if you'd like to get all this information, very simple, leadingwithquestions.com. Thank you for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
When is the last time you changed the air filter on your furnace? Now, don't be embarrassed. That happens to a bunch of us. The furnace filter should be changed often. This will help your heating and cooling system run more efficiently, and it'll even extend the life of your system. Now, there's an easy way to make it happen. Filter Easy, a new subscription service that delivers your size filter right to your door on the schedule you choose. It's easy. Filter Easy. One less thing to worry about. Learn about a special offer available now at radiosavings.com.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
If the world population consumed as much as the average American, we would need the resources of 5 times what we have on this earth just to survive.
Really?
Yeah. So if everybody else in the world ate as much as we do, we'd be in trouble. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Albert Einstein was offered the presidency of Israel in 1952, but he said, no thanks.
Really?
Yeah. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
He is a smart guy.
Yes. Fun fact for you,
What's
Heidi.
that, John?
In the Scooby-Doo cartoon, there was also a character called Scooby-Dee. Did you know that?
I did know that. I remember Scooby-Doo.
Cousin, actress, and her name was, Scooby-Dee. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The Coaster song Charlie Brown was once banned because it was it contained the word spitball. The British BBC banned it for that very reason.
Really?
Because the word spitball was in it. Yeah. Think about how far we've come with music. There's things that I'm like, I don't even know what they just said. And our final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Your garbage disposal eats better than 30% of the people in the world.
Oh.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
That's very sad.
Very sad. A couple of fun facts and kind of sad facts right here on a Wednesday.
John and Heidi.
This is Richard Lustig, the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottolicious, I have won something every single draw. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, to give yourself the best chance of winning, go to RadioLottoPool.com and join today. Again, that website is RadioLottoPool.com.
John and Heidi.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Holidays are awesome, aren't they?
I love Christmas.
But
love it.
if you are single, there's some tips here on how to reduce holiday dating stress. This comes from Robert Fisher, who's some sort of expert on this. Stop, think, and plan. There we go. It says many professionals have an implementation calendar at work. You need to do that for your personal life as well. Next says take time for a reconnaissance date. An important office or family holiday function is the wrong place for a first date. So,
Well, duh.
but they're saying...
Is there anybody really need to be told that?
What they're saying is, if you are single and you're going to the Christmas party and you don't want to be alone, don't say, okay, I'm going to ask this stranger that I don't know, but at least I have a date at my party. Go out with them first somewhere else. Say, hey, let's go for lunch or something. Let's do something first. Have that reconnaissance date rather than dragging them to the Christmas party and finding out that, when you get to the Christmas party that the guy or the lady is, maybe not acceptable in public, we'll say.
Stealing office supplies from your building.
If you leave the restaurant and they have silverware in their pocket, you might not want to take them to the office. Just saying. Next one says, hold your horses. It's natural to do some what-if thinking when meeting somebody, but remember to pull in the reins. Although there's no better time to arrive with a perfect partner, this is not the time to pin all of your hopes on meeting your dream date instantly. And then the last one is go easy on the spirits. Holiday parties quite often have a lot of alcohol involved, so be very careful that you don't go a little too far and do a little too much and drink a little too much when you're on a date with somebody for the first time. So a lot of things to keep in mind there. A couple of fun tips there from, who was that from again? Great Expectations dating expert Robert Fisher.
There you go.
Yeah, he's got all the answers. Where were you when I was single, Robert Fisher? Thanks. Oh, wait, I'm here with my wife, so it all worked out okay.
Jeez.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This is my favorite time of year, the lights, the fun parties, and the family get-togethers. Many of us have boxes of home videos capturing these memories, but sadly, these memories are fading away because the videotape was not the best format. My friend CJ has a business called Tape It Up Reproductions. They transfer your precious memories to a digital format with the option to enhance the audio and the video to make them look and sound better than ever. His website is tapingitup.com, or you can call or text 412-766-1679.
John and Heidi.
Switzerland. When I say Switzerland, what do you think of instantly?
Skiing.
Skiing. You know what I think of? Chocolate.
Oh.
Like hot chocolate. I don't know
Okay.
why. So Swiss Alps, Swiss Miss chocolate.
Swiss cheese.
Switzerland recently launched a multi-million-dollar campaign to change the perception that they're just a land of chocolate, cuckoo clocks, and boring bankers. The Swiss Presence campaign is aimed at British and American folk and includes a program that invites visitors from a field of education, culture, media, and business to see, quote, what Switzerland is really like, end quote. A spokesperson for the project said, Switzerland is much more than just cows and chocolate, bankers and watches. We want to present it as a multifaceted land combining traditional and modern innovation and humanity, end quote.
There you go.
That sounds good. Hey, you said members of the media. The John and Heidi Show, this is media, right?
Yeah, are they going to
Invite
send
us
us?
to Switzerland.
I'd go to Switzerland.
We could do our show from there for a day or two.
I would do that.
Yeah, and I would yodel because, that's what I think of when I think of Switzerland.
Because that's what we do. We sacrifice for our
Yes.
listeners.
And I will yodel the show from Switzerland.
We would do that for you.
Whatever it takes to, break that stigma of, Switzerland. We would do it. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Two blondes working at a metal shop. Kind of sounds like a beginning of a bad joke, doesn't it?
It does.
But it's not a bad joke. It's a bad story, though. Tired of being called dumb blonde? A woman was so tired of her boss calling her a dumb blonde, she sued him, and she won. Brazilian metal worker Andrea Luisa de Silva says she's not a dumb blonde. And she's been described numerous times by her boss as a dumb blonde.
Yeah,
so
that's not good.
So she sued him, and guess how much she won?
How much?
$1,300. What?
Is that even...
That
Is that
doesn't
even worth it?
No.
Is that what is left after the attorney fees,
No.
maybe?
So she won $1,300 in moral damages, plus recognition that she was unduly fired, which paves the way for more compensation. Okay, so there could be more to come. Spokesperson says, it is unprecedented decision on moral damages for blondes. The judge determined that the term dumb blonde violated the dignity of the employee.
Well, of course.
And her boss is appealing the ruling, saying that dumb judge is just a dumb blonde too. Nah, he didn't really say that, but boy, wouldn't that be ironic? So there you go. I've never understood that because I know some blonde. I've got several friends that are blonde that are brilliant. So not everybody, and I know many people that are dumb that are not blonde. So
Right.
I'm just saying, the color of your hair has nothing to do with your intelligence.
Right.
It really doesn't. All right, coming up, we've got ways to pay it forward during the holidays. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
This time of year, we celebrate with family and friends.
And sometimes that involves drinking.
If you're going to be celebrating, please have a designated driver.
I lost my cousins to a drunk driver. They were only 8 and 12 years old.
Their lives were cut short because the driver was drunk and made a terrible choice.
Make good choices. Have a designated driver.
If you or a loved one has a problem with drugs or alcohol, now may be a great time for the gift of sobriety.
You can call Keystone Treatment Center at 844-204-1055.
That's toll-free, 844-204-1055.
John and Heidi.
This time of year, there are people saying, you know what? I want to pay it forward. I want to do something good. MSN put out a list here of things we can do that are good things to do. You ready for this, Heidi?
I am ready.
Put your loose change in the red bucket for the Salvation Army. So, reach in your pocket, pull out some change. If you don't have change in your pocket, you could put, bills in there too. It doesn't have to be change.
If you don't have bills, you could write a check.
There you go. Can you write a check?
I'm sure you can. Why would they not take a check? It's a donation.
I don't have a check, so I'm going to have to do something else. But give is what they're saying. Write a happy holiday note to an overseas troops, the soldier overseas.
I do that every year. I send a Christmas card.
Bake cookies.
And if you would like that address, you can certainly just send us a message on our Facebook page and ask for it. I would be very happy to share that with you.
I'll actually get it from Heidi, and we'll post it on our Facebook page. That would be a really good idea. Bake cookies for everybody that helps you out during the year. So, all the folks in the office, neighbors, whatnot. Sign up to sing Christmas carols at a senior living facility or nursing home.
I know a lot of people that do that.
I have done that in the past. It is so awesome. I should actually see if our daughter wants to do that. We should go do that.
She would love to do that.
Grab an extra coffee in the morning and bring it to school for the crossing guard. So if you've got somebody...
that's nice.
Yeah, that's
cool.
a
very good idea.
Learn to knit with your kids and make some hats and scarves and mittens to donate. That's cool. Instead of asking for gifts you don't really need, request that a donation be made in your name to a cause you care about. As you make your way through crowded holiday airports, smile at the TSA workers and thank them for their service.
I always do that too.
They have kind of a thankless job. I do too. Help your kids create handmade cards for all their teachers. Again, ways to pay it forward during the holidays. Ask your kids' teachers if you could provide support during the class at a holiday party. Anything I can do to help? Contact a local university and ask if they're looking for holiday hosts for international or far-from-home students. That's a good idea. When cooking your holiday meal, make an extra batch of whatever might freeze well and deliver it to an elderly neighbor. Offer to drive your neighbors to and from the airport if they're going to be going somewhere for the holidays. And there's more on the list, but I'm going to do our final one right here. For every new item you receive as a present, donate an old item to a charity. That way, you don't have a whole lot of stuff cluttering up the place, and you're helping somebody else out as well. So, a couple of ways to pay it forward from our friends at MSN.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always try to wrap things up around here with some good news, and I've got some good news here, Heidi.
That's excellent. I love good news.
I do too. A New York City pastor is keeping with the holiday spirit, and he opened a Peanuts-inspired booth outside of his church. I actually had to look and see if this was a new story.
Yeah, because I remember this.
Or no, this is a different one, because this is a brand new story. Metro.us reports that Pastor Gregory Fryer from Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Manhattan's Upper East Side decided to use an idea straight out of a Charlie Brown Christmas, having Lucy's booth advertising psychiatric help, to offer spiritual help, is what he put on his booth, to passers-by. Fryer even took pains to construct his booth to scale with the exact measurements of Lucy Van Pelt's booth using the same font as pictured in the movie. The pastor spent about 2 hours from 7 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. every Tuesday morning sitting in the booth, listening to strangers' problems and praying for them. So we had another guy that, remember there was one that was a drive-through prayer booth. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Because that's what I thought this story was when I first found it. Because there was a guy that set up a lemonade stand, but it was a prayer stand.
Yeah, I was thinking that this was the same
and it was
thing.
he was getting in trouble because he was causing traffic jams. There were so many people pulling in saying, I'd like you to pray for me. Would you, I got this going on. There were people that would come around the block and say, you know what, I'm going to go back. I'm going to have him pray for me. So it's really cool. This guy's doing this in New York City. This is in the Upper East Side of New York City and of Manhattan. So this is a busy, busy area. And he's set this thing up out in front of the church, 7:30 in the morning till 9:30 in the morning. And people are stopping and saying, could you pray for me about this? Here's the good news. I know you might not have one of these in your neighborhood. Guess what you do have? You have churches in your neighborhood. You have friends and neighbors in your neighborhood. There are people that would pray for you. It doesn't have to be this guy in this booth. And you could even pray for yourself too, believe it or not. I know that sounds crazy. Going out on a limb here. But I think it's really cool. Pastor Gregory Fryer, thank you for doing that. That's just a neat story. And I've got a link to the story at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday.